call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. How we doing out there? It's game day again. Finally, I wish these dudes would play every day. For a while there, we were wishing they would never play again. But that's the beauty of basketball, man. Things can change quickly. Arkansas is fun to watch again. How about that? Another late one tonight. LSU coming to town, 8 p.m. from Bud Walton Arena. Games on ESPN2 for those who aren't able to make it. We're gonna go rapid fire through the preview here this morning. And the team is playing well. I get caught up. I get long-winded. Went a half hour yesterday. These were designed to be like, 12, 15 minutes, man. I get rolling sometimes. Y'all ain't got time for that. My goodness. Let's get through it. Revenge game. Time for Arkansas to get their lick back, right? Should not have lost that game in Baton Rouge, but they did. So here you are. And now this is a huge one. Must win. Yep. Can't lose. Yep. Both of those things. Arkansas has to get this one. They do. A win in and of itself won't necessarily move the needle unless it's convincing, but it gets you one step closer to that magic number that you're looking for in this never-ending quest, this chase to be on the right side of the bubble, make it to March Madness. How about this novel idea? Win a game at home for a change. Wouldn't you guys like to see that? My goodness. What's going on at Bud Walton Arena, man? I know they've had some good teams in there, but this is uncharacteristic for an Arkansas basketball team to struggle at home. Time to get it right. And just getting the dub here, it's crucial. Like we said, you got to do it. It's a must win. Can't have that blemish, but a convincing one, right? That outperforms the projections a little bit. I think Ken Palm's got you favored by 8 or 9 in this game. That could give you a little bit of a bump in the metrics. Go win by double digits. Not a greedy man. I'm just saying, help yourself out a little bit if you like. Bare minimum, Arkansas's got to get the win here, especially in a midweek. And I'm recording this Tuesday afternoon before the slate of games starts. So by the time you guys listen to this, you already know what some of the results are. But it's important on a midweek here, where if you look at the schedule on paper, Vandy, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, they're all at least expected to lose. And those are all the teams you're competing with for jockeying for position in the SEC standings and for NCAA tournament berths. Like it would be a bubble bump from that standpoint if you take care of business and these other teams don't. And it could bump you up, potentially from like 14th to 11th or something in the SEC standings. I know that's modest, but better than where you're at right now. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. A loss here would just be it would be unacceptable. Can't have it. It would be a quad 3 blemish. We talked about that yesterday, to where LSU is currently in the net, and it could change by the end of the year, pending how they play. But they haven't been playing very well, so this is a quad 3 game. This might be like the only one outside of if you hosted South Carolina on an SEC schedule. Can't have that. Arkansas doesn't have any bad losses from that standpoint. This would be one. Getting swept by arguably the worst team in the league would be a backbreaker. Like, this is really the only potential landmine left on the schedule for Arkansas. They got to get it. LSU is a bad team. They are. I mean, that's evident by their 1-9 record in SEC play. The problem is that one win, as we know, came against Arkansas on an extremely frustrating night about a month ago in Baton Rouge, where Arkansas was kind of cruising, 8-point lead midway through the second half, had all the momentum, and then you blink, and there's a 20-3 LSU run and another deflating loss that dropped Arkansas to 0-4 in SEC play. That game feels like years ago. We were out at Brothers Meat House in Bentonville doing a watch party for it. I mean, goodness, it's only been a few weeks, but those painful memories are still there of when Arkansas, they just weren't playing winning basketball at the time, were they? It's frustrating. You try not to look back in hindsight too much, like simply winning that game. There are a couple you could say this about. Just winning that game would have Arkansas firmly in the NCAA tournament field right now. No question. And you can't rewrite history, So like now the Hogs, they got to get their lick back, man. They got you on their home turf. You got to get them on yours. That's just where you're at. LSU has not won a basketball game in a month since that night. They've had some opportunities. They pushed Bama. I thought they played Bama really well. nearly beat Ole Miss, lost on a tip-in on Saturday over the weekend. So, and they beat Arkansas. It's like you've seen them when they play to their potential or maybe a little bit over their heads. They're capable. On the flip side, they got 30-piece at home by Texas. They got absolutely drugged by Georgia. Like there's, there are examples there of this looking like a 1-9 SEC team as well. So let's see. Just thinking back to that last game, when these teams first met, Arkansas, if you remember, they had their shot blocked 11 times in that game. They missed 17 layups in that game, and they shot 15 fewer free throws. LSU had 28. Arkansas shot 13. And that was against an LSU team that's undersized and less talented in the front court. And it was one of those nights where the word soft was used to describe Arkansas because, well, they were on that night. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. But again, different team now. What were we talking about yesterday? Like you almost have to look at this group from two different lenses. It's like with and without Boogie. And again, that's not to say that Boogie's a problem or a bad player or anything like that, but the team's just been different without him. So you go back and look at that box score from that game. Like Boogie led the team in scoring with 19. He was inefficient, 6 of 17 from the field. A lot of things that you just wouldn't expect now. Like Jonas Adu had a double-double in that game. Wow, okay. One of the better games that he played. One of the last good games that he played. And then Big Z, on the other hand, who's like your best player right now, he only played 6 minutes. Things change. Nelly Davis still couldn't dribble. Like he wasn't allowed to leave the corner. He was still doing that thing. So yes, that game happened, but I don't know that it really foreshadows what's to come or like what we should expect from tonight. Like some of these run back games often do. LSU's doing some different things. Cal talked about that on his radio show. They're mixing in some more zone. They're playing a little bit faster, more baseline action offensively. Some of the stuff that Arkansas does similarly to that. But look, there's zero excuse at this point if you're a serious basketball program for Arkansas to not control this game. It's John Calipari's first revenge opportunity too as the head hog. You guys remember how good Muss was in these games? Lose the first one, he would almost always get him on the get back. We'll see. A lot of the things about LSU here are still the same. They continue to hoist threes and not make them, which is interesting. They're one of their highest 3-point per field goal attempt rates in the SEC, but they're shooting sub 30%, they're shooting 29% on the year. They got the two guards, Cam Carter and Jordan Sears, that can really knock them down, and that's pretty much it at this point. They are dead last in the SEC in turnovers and offensive rebounds allowed. Okay. Arkansas had 17 offensive rebounds against them in Baton Rouge, and that came after some of the struggles on the glass. You guys remember against like Tennessee and Florida. We're wondering if this team would ever be able to win a rebounding battle. They had 17 offensive rebounds in Baton Rouge. I think they need to do that again, honestly. And then if you break it down to just their SEC only statistics, LSU, they're 15th in SEC only offense from an efficiency standpoint. They're 14th in SEC only defense. It's been a struggle for them. They do rank top 5 in 3 categories in SEC play. One, they're number 2 in block percentage, which is kind of interesting because they're not a big team. I mean, they start Corey Chest, who's a strong physical kid, defensive player. But he's 6'8", 220 as their center. Damian Collins, who, he was a 5-star, played for Cal at Kentucky, had a good game against Arkansas the last time out. But he's 6'9", like 200 pounds. Like he's skinnier than Trevin out there. But they block a bunch of shots. I'll give them credit for that. So Arkansas is going to have to get in there and finish. They didn't do a good job last time. They need to do a better job this time. They're 4th in free throw percentage, although they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of actually getting to the line. Again, like I said a minute ago, they got there 28 times against Arkansas at LSU in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hogs had to foul a little bit there down the stretch, but still, you can't have that number. And they're 5th in 2-point percentage. So they finished around the basket pretty well there. So a handful of keys for Arkansas, some quick hitters here. One, they got to do a better job on Cam Carter. If you don't remember that guy, you probably should. He went nuts on Arkansas. Might have had the best game anybody's had against Arkansas this year. I should have done my research off the top of my head. But he had 27 on the Hogs, and he's a good player. But, I mean, come on now. That's 10, 11 points more than he's averaging on the season. Arkansas, I think, is a better team defensively now. I like the idea of DJ Wagner and his physicality being on him as opposed to, your freshman there, which was kind of the case in the last game. Arkansas switches a lot, but you like the intensity that guys like John L. Davis and Carter Knox in the backcourt are playing with right now on that end. Got to key in on him, though. You can't have that dude coming in Bud Walton Arena and putting 30 on you. They need a 180, right, to a turnaround there, just around the basket. We said it. You missed 17 layups against those guys last year, and in the last game, you hear, oh, they missed so many layups. And remember, like, these aren't point blank layups. These are contested. The blocks, and all that stuff factors into it. But Arkansas is a bigger, more athletic team. You got to finish in there, or you got to get to the foul line. And it's one thing Arkansas struggled with again against Alabama was maybe anticipating contact, changing their shot for the contact instead of just trying to go in there and finish, period. And if you get fouled, you get fouled. So I'm sure that's been an emphasis for him in practice. Need to turn these dudes over. They turn it over a ton. Arkansas, I think they might have turned them over about 15 times. I should have had the box score pulled up. Bad prep on my part. I'll be better. But I think that's right. And you need that again. I mean, if Arkansas is able to force some turnovers, get out in transition, and get some easy ones, I think they're going to be in control in this game. If you do that in Bud Walton, you're going to be all set there. And then just like, I don't know, do the favorable memories of that game, and does that unlock something with Jonas? I know people are frustrated there, and I get it, and I'm not saying that I expect him to all of a sudden have a huge game here, but Arkansas's got to be able to get more out of him. You have to have that depth behind Z. He's not a guy who's going to be able to play 40 minutes a game for you. Jonas has to be able to give you something, and it's got to come on a game-by-game basis. He's got to be able to give you 10, 12, 15 minutes. He doesn't have to be a double-double machine. He doesn't have to be the all-SEC guy that he was, but he's got to be better than he is right now. Check this out. He had 11 and 9 against Florida, talking about Jonas here, with 3 blocks. He had 12 and 10 in that game against LSU with 4 blocks. And since then, at Missouri, 4 points. At Georgia, or against Georgia, 5 points. And then he's gone scoreless and played 10 minutes or fewer in 3 of the last 4 games since then. Something ain't right there. They need to figure that out, and they need to figure it out in short order. I know his confidence is probably shaking right now. Get it right against a team that you've had success against recently. It would be nice to see. I don't know that that's a key, but it's something I want to see. And then, another thing, just improved scoring efficiency, I think, from the guards. DJ, what was he, 1 of 6? I know he had 9 assists, but you need him to score as well. I'm talking about against Alabama. Nelly, he finished with 13 points, but he was 4 of 13, so not as efficient as he had been the last couple games. Get him back into rhythm. He was really, really good in the first half against LSU last time out, and it was one of those things where you got to the second half, and then he just didn't touch the basketball for like 13 minutes. So it was kind of weird. And then Carter Knox, who's been really good for you lately. And I thought he did some good things too against Alabama, but he was held scoreless. You can't have that. Like, if you're going to be a starting wing in the SEC, one of your biggest jobs is to score and put it in the hole. Now, Billy Richmond came off the bench and gave Arkansas 9, so it kind of counteracted that. But you want that contribution from Billy in addition to, right, what your starters will typically give you. I'm anxious to see what the role looks like for Billy. I do think he's going to play more. Cal mentioned that in his radio show, and if he continues to kind of blossom here, like that freshman year Devo Davis down the stretch, where all of a sudden it's like, this dude's energy, his defense, we just got to keep him on the floor because he's a winning basketball player. Maybe that's what we're running into here. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun game, hopefully a good night at Bud Walton Arena for the Razorbacks. Before we get out of here, I want to hit you with the March Madness Minute, and I mean that by minute. But I said we're going to kind of do our best to keep you updated with everything the best we can as we move forward here, because over the course of the next month, it's going to be ups and downs and back and forth and a roller coaster ride in terms of Arkansas's bubble situation. So here we go with a few of the most recent updates from the most well-known bracketologists going into tonight's game. Jerry Palm at CBS Sports has Arkansas as a 12 seed in the first 4 playing games against San Diego State. And then they'd be on to the Providence Regional, that like playing in Providence, Rhode Island. That would be an interesting trip. They win that game against San Diego State. They get Marquette, and then they would get the winner of Michigan or Arkansas State. Interesting. Either one of those would be very interesting. The field of 68. It's just Jeff Goodman that hates Arkansas. The other guys are pretty fair to him. They have Arkansas in the field, an 11 seed in the first 4. So they'd be going to Dayton first, playing Ohio State. An Ohio State team I think they'd smack. I really do believe that. Sign me up for that. If they got through that, then they would be on to face 6 seed Creighton. Seeing Ryan Kalkbrenner versus Big Z would be it'd be theatrics, man. I would absolutely love to see that. And then everybody's favorite, or least favorite, or at least the well-known, Joe Lunardi. Dang it, Joe still has Arkansas as his first team out of the field heading into Tuesday night's action. Just ahead of them for hate-watching purposes moving forward. BYU is his last team in. Come on, man. Wake Forest, San Diego State, and Georgia are the others in his last 4 in there. So that's kind of who is immediately on the radar for Arkansas. And in his other bubble teams there includes Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Texas. So, those SEC teams obviously keep an eye on as well. I talked to you guys about the bracket matrix. All of the most reputable bracketologists, they take all their brackets, they create an average, and gives you an idea of kind of where you stand big picture. I looked this morning, and of the 88 updated brackets at the matrix, Arkansas is in 43 of them. And so yesterday they had 90 of them updated, and Arkansas is in 40. So still trending in the right direction. Get a win here. I don't know that it's going to, all of a sudden you're going to appear in every single one of them, but it'd be a hell of a lot better situation than if you lost. And we'll see what happens around the rest of the bubble there. So I'm out of here. Appreciate you guys. Make sure that you tune in after the game tonight for the Pod at the Palace post-game show. That'll be immediately following the Final Horn. We're looking forward to that one. And then keep a lookout for Saturday. Arkansas gets back out on the road. People have been asking about doing a little watch party action or something. I think what we're going to do is kind of a second half hangout, right? We'll go live around halftime, kind of talk about what we've seen, and then we'll watch it together in the second half and chat and enjoy that. And then we'll get into the post-game show after that. But we'll talk more about that when we get there. Appreciate you guys always. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace. We'll see you this afternoon, or this evening rather. Enjoy the game.